Welcome to another edition of Persons of Interest. My name is Derek Dockett, and in this episode, I chat with Springfield News-Leader sports reporter Wyatt Wheeler. For those of you who already know Wyatt, or if you follow him on Twitter, you're already aware that he's a bit of a jokester. I don't know if they keep these kinds of records at the News-Leader, but he might be the youngest sports reporter in the history of the paper. And right now, he's the only sports reporter at the paper. He covers the Springfield Cardinals, Missouri State University, Drury, Evangel, high schools, any other sporting event that's happening in Southwest Missouri. I guess it all falls on his shoulders. Wyatt and I discussed his work at the News-Leader, how he first took interest in journalism, and of course, we spent a little time talking about Missouri State sports. Now, I started this episode joking how Wyatt is an award-winning journalist. Well, it kind of isn't a joke. The Springfield News-Leader recently received 22 awards for news writing, sports coverage, and photojournalism in the 2018 Missouri Associated Press Media Editors Newspaper Contest. Wyatt received first place for two features, one that he did on Jackie Stiles and another on the hiring of Dana Ford. He also took second place for two other features as well. So, without any further ado, here's Wyatt Wheeler on Persons of Interest. Well, I am pleased to be joined by, an award-winning sports journalist. How about that? That just came to me. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man is an award-winning sports journalist. He is the sports department at the Springfield News-Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wyatt D. Wheeler. Wyatt, how are you doing this morning?
A little tired. You got me up a little early this morning, but happy to be on. It's a dream of mine to be on here.
I'm so sorry to ruin your Saturday, but this is one that the people have been asking about.
Yeah, I got some interesting thoughts, I guess, but try to jump deep into the mind of me, I guess. But I don't think that's a place very many people will want to be after they hear the first 5 minutes of this. But keep listening.
I'm sure the crowd is going wild right now. I can already tell the tone of this podcast is like way differently than all the others, but we'll see if we can keep it on track. But that's okay, because I want to have some fun with this. The way this has gone so far with the first couple of episodes, it's been unique. So I started with Lily Johnson, and she blew me away with her memory. I mean, she remembers so much from her playing days, from being recruited. And she told me some stuff that I'd never known. So now, of course, she's graduated. You covered her.
Yeah, she's overrated.
She's overrated. But now, post-graduation, she's now going to the next phase of her life. It was great to catch up with her. I talked with some other folks, sports, non-sports, whatever it might be. And it was all just sort of to learn about how they got to where they were. And I realized, so when I was working at the Valley, you were a sports reporter for the Standard, the Missouri State student newspaper. I believe that's our very first connection, I think, when I remember you and Alec McChesney bowling at the Student Union. I'm pretty sure that's what sort of like, what are these two guys doing? Like, shouldn't they be like at a practice or at a coach interview if they're the school's sports reporters? But I somehow just stuck with it. I don't know why. And you two actually took a different approach to your work at the Standard, and you started doing more digital stuff. You started doing video content, and did you guys win some awards even as college students?
Yeah, we got a few of them. We got a few of them early on. We tried to play around with some things. Just kind of looked at where journalism was going and looked at how the Standard was going, and just decided to change it up a little bit to get our people under us a little more prepared going forward. And they're actually still doing a lot of the things that we kind of started still today. So it's pretty fun to see those guys continuing to do really what we set out to do. So it's a change that we were pretty happy with, and the awards came, but we were just happy with the kind of the footprint that we left behind, and just the impact is just where they're going now, and I think they're doing some pretty cool things, and they keep expanding too to make it for everybody. But that's pretty much what it was. It was more of a learning experience for everybody, and we had ideas and carried them out and got people a little excited to join the standard, and we were pretty happy with the impact we left.
So I gotta ask, and I always curious to know now, because I mean, you're much younger than I am, and journalism has taken such a dramatic change. It's been through a lot. We'll just say that. Journalism has been through the ringer. But for you stuck with it. What was the first thing that drew you to wanting to be a writer and get into journalism and stick with it?
Well, I had a really good high school class, journalism class, and it was just a lot of fun. And I just remember the first time my editor at my high school class said, "Hey, Wyatt, you're surprisingly really good at this." And just like, it's like I'm good at something. So it's just something. I mean, from then on, it's all I wanted to do. I mean, I've always loved sports. I knew I wasn't going to do anything collegiate. And it was just something that I just attached myself to. I was always reading articles, whether it was ESPN.com, Chicago Tribune. And it's just something I always wanted to do. And it's the only thing I've ever kind of attached myself to, whether it was starting out college at Northern Illinois or continuing here at Missouri State. So it was never real. I mean, nothing's really scared me off. There's been a lot of change since I've started in college at Northern Illinois, and there's been a lot of change since I was here at Missouri State, and I mean even full time at the paper. So there's nothing. I love it. It's just what I've wanted to do. It keeps me around everything, and I get to be at all these moments, and it's something I really love to do and help capture for people. And I love social media too. It's a lot of fun interaction. It's just a lot of people that I enjoy, and just keeps me there.
So you mentioned starting at Northern Illinois, which I don't think many people know that, because, you know, I didn't know until I just sort of, I guess we became Facebook friends. I'm like, this guy is from Central Illinois originally, and, you know, didn't start out transferred in, which is fine. But I guess my first question, what led you there? And then what led you to end up at Missouri State?
Yeah, Northern Illinois. I mean, there was a girl I was with in high school until about first semester of senior year. So it was like a 3-year thing. So it's like, I'm probably going to be going to whatever college she's with. So it was the dumb high school kid, just not really giving yourself very many options. So I got a really late start on looking for colleges. And Northern Illinois was really one of the first and only ones I looked at. I didn't want to do the community college in town. I wanted to do like a legit 4-year thing, and went up to Northern Illinois, and it was super cold. Those 2 years I was there, it was super cold. I mean, I was walking backwards to class, so the wind chill wasn't in your face. It was -30 walking to class.
You've obviously never walked the campus of the University of Northern Iowa, then.
Oh, it's all terrible. Up there is just awful. I mean, it's just a big open field, but it was so cold up there. And I mean, cold wasn't the reason that I left. I mean, there was a lot of commuting for students in the Chicago area, so people weren't there on the weekends. I've never been into the whole party scene or anything, so I just found myself alone in a dorm room a lot. So after 2 years, it was just like, I need a change of scenery. I was home every weekend because it was just an hour and a half drive back to Central Illinois. So I had a friend that was actually on the Missouri State baseball team that I grew up with, Alex Jefferson. He's been my best friend since we were probably just 8 through 10, and came down and visited Missouri State. I've been down here my whole life. My grandparents lived in Reed Springs, so I've been in Springfield, Branson my whole life. So there was a level of comfort. My brother was looking for schools at the same time, and just visited campus a couple times and really enjoyed it, and just kind of attached myself here, and wasn't very much looking. I mean, it was the only one I looked for after Northern Illinois, so it was just where I felt like I wanted to be, and it's where I've stuck.
And it's obviously worked out. Like I said, you did a bunch of great stuff at Standard. Now you find yourself at the News-Leader. When you got the opportunity, and of course, like I said, the journalism itself has been through a lot, but the News-Leader is one of those ones where we've seen some longtime sports reporters, in their time end and because of one thing or another, and you find yourself in that role, and eventually the only sports reporter at the paper, serving a pretty big community down there. With what I also want to add, you got Division I with Missouri State, Drury, Evangel. You also have a huge high school sports scene in Southwest Missouri. So I think that goes under the radar. And here you are now attempting to service all the readers of the paper, at least in terms of sports, with that content around those teams, those colleges, universities, and high schools. Daunting when you like, okay, here I am now. Like, what's your first reaction when you end up there? Because you were interning at the paper originally, and before you ended up in the role as the only sports reporter, right?
Yeah. So I started out. As a clerk. There were two sports reporters at the time. I was pretty good friends with one of them, and then everything happened to kind of change. Just a whole bunch of stuff happened within the organization, and just find myself being offered while still in college a chance. I was the editor-in-chief of the Standard for that year, and I was committed to that, and I was offered the full-time job. So a guy in this field, when you're offered a full-time job, don't really have very many. I mean, it's the only option is yes. And I mean, this is where I want to. I mean, this was my preferred place to be after college. So it was like, I'll take it on. And I'll admit, I mean, I don't think anybody's ready to take on something quite that big. They kind of eased me in pretty well. With another sports reporter and everything. Harrison Keegan was a lot of help early on, and it's tough. I mean, there's so much to do. It's such a big area, and you're going to get angry people every single day for not being at being at their kids' thing or being at their favorite team's thing. But it's just about, it's so digital stuff now that the numbers kind of lead me into the right direction, and you got to get a little creative to be able to serve everybody, to kind of give them something that a lot of people will be interested in. So it's finding those feature stories, finding those right kind of columns to write, finding which games need to be reported on, and it's tough. It's something. I never, being one person here, has just been it's really stressful, but it's something that I enjoy, being able to pick and choose everything I kind of want to do. Sure. I mean, it's fun to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go do this. And, whether it's a Missouri State basketball game or it's being like, okay, I'll drive down to Branson and hang out with and watch Von Miller put people through practice over on Big Cedar Lodge. It's just there's a lot of things here, and you got to find the fun in it too. And I think that's kind of where I go to social media for some of the fun, and go to the whatever games for the fun, and just the events for the fun. It's stressful, but you got to make the best of it. And I think that's something that I'm pretty good at being able to do. So when you're working at the News-Leader, do you often have the opportunity to channel in some of this creative stuff you guys were doing at the Standard? Because I assume being in the lead role you were at the Standard, you're like, man, let's creative. Let's do these videos. Let's do that. Do you still have that sort of freedom at the News-Leader, even though, I mean, it's part of a bigger corporate
chain, I mean, do you still have the freedom to do more digital things? Like, how does that work? Or do you just sort of have to fall in line with how the other reporters work across the country?
Well, I got a good boss. Me and Steven Herzog, we see eye to eye on pretty much everything. I don't think we've run into anything yet we've really disagreed on after working with each other as close as we have been for the last however many months, probably 8 months kind of right now. But we play with everything, and we balance and we see what works, see what doesn't, and we're always trying new things. So whether it's writing a story in emojis, we've done that, and we want to play with a little more video stuff. I mean, there's a 20 question thing I do with the high school kids, and just ask them 20 goofy questions, and I'm young enough to still connect with them. Sure. So it's fun to take some of those ideas that maybe a person that's been around for a while might not be comfortable with doing, but I want to get in there and try to have fun with some of the kids. It's just there's a lot of and it works well. The kids will share it around on social media. They'll share around their stories, and we notice some of the things that are working, and we're excited to just keep expanding. I kind of go off on my own and do some post game Periscope type things on my Twitter, and we're fine with that. Whether if it's building my portfolio up while I'm here, or if it's building up the News-Leader, they're fine with anything that pretty much we do. It's just being creative and seeing what sticks, kind of.
So you mentioned social media, and I'm always curious, because I'm still a social media nerd, even though I don't tweet as much as I used to with my role in the Valley. But I'm always curious from a journalism standpoint, how much is social media shaping your content? Like, you guys probably know from, metrics, what's being read on the paper's website and things like that. And obviously, you probably get feedback via social media when you guys post stories, and we know how Facebook comments may or can go sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But do you guys let social media, in terms of like what the response is, the engagement you get, shape what stories that you cover, like in the future and going forward?
Not really too much. It depends case to case. I mean, I find a lot of stories through social media. I find what things I absolutely need to be at, whether if it's going to get a lot of metrics or not. It's if you'll see what kind of things might get a blowback, just kind of like not very happy with, whether it's I only have so many hours a week that I'm able to use, so it's so maybe this Saturday night basketball game wouldn't be worth my hours compared to doing something else, maybe a high school something. But if we notice like the blowback, if we notice there's a certain amount of response, we'll change it up. We'll try to make it work for people, whether it's freelancing or something, but not too much. I think we've found the balance right now that we wouldn't let a small amount of angry people dictate my coverage, whether it's publishing an article 49 minutes after a game or publishing it the second the game ends. We've found what works for us, and we try to do things that make the people happy in the end.
So, how do I word this one now?
Don't get me in trouble.
No. I always enjoy. Sometimes what people want to make news isn't always news. You play both things out of proportion. You probably see that more than I do, because I don't read every single story. I read what's what I want to read and what's interesting to me. And I'm sure most people like that, but some people will go through and look for something to be upset about or something like that. And do you, keeping sports only in mind, we don't need to go into politics, things like that. when you're just reporting on the story and people are angry of, one reason or another, not the person, but just story, you don't take it personally, do you? Do you try and keep that line of, boy, they're upset because they're a fan of the team and things aren't going well, versus the questions that you asked to dig into the story? Like, is it, I don't even know if I'm asking that right, if you know what I mean, but
yeah, I'm good at keeping it out personally, and I know I have a tough job to do. I know people are going to get mad at some of the things I write, and I think I got kind of an attitude that I'm able to brush some of those things off and just kind of laugh at it and just know that I'm doing my job. It's a difficult job. I got to ask some tough questions. I got to bring up some things people might not be happy about,
right,
whether it's attendance at a football game, whether it's the cryotherapy thing from last year with men's basketball. People weren't happy that was brought up or looked into, but it's something you got to make an impact. You got to hold people responsible for things, whether it's liked or not. And if some people won't be there to do those things, if I'm not there, as for some of those, it's something you gotta be able to look at it that way. Just kind of like, okay, this is my job. I got to do some difficult things. This past week, people weren't happy when I wrote about Kelly Harper maybe leaving because she's having a lot of success. They're like, oh, he's just trying to make her leave. He's trying to. Why would he even say that? People get mad at me because I'm complimenting a coach,
right,
at a mid-major level, saying that she's deserving of better looks, when it's clearly labeled in the article, hey, this doesn't say she should leave or she will leave. This is purely to really compliment her on the job she's doing,
the success she's having.
Yeah, people are going to get mad because they don't want to think of it that way, and they're not going to get mad at her because they like her. So it's a little easy to turn to the person that's bringing it up when it's something that you don't really want to think about.
That particular story to me brings up a good point. I wonder if, and you can respond to this one how you think, I wonder if that one is a victim of headline only reading or tweet only reading instead of actually reading the story. Because I saw that one, I'm like, oh, what's the angle here? And of course, I read just about everything you put out, not to be a homer or, whatever, but I've always enjoyed your work and I've told you that. But at the same time, like I think to myself, how many people see a tweet and that's like what they see is what all they dig into. They don't actually read the story, or they see the Facebook post and they don't dig into it. You think part of that may have been to it. And does that make, like, think about when you're writing a headline, you think about that perception of how people might take a story without actually reading the entire story.
Yeah, I don't really. I've never really thought about. We think about the blowback that we could get for some headlines, but we thought we think of everything when we go through some of that, and I do think people see headlines and definitely get mad. We got a paywall on our website to where if I write a story about a tornado warning coming through the county, that people are going to see it and just comment, oh, it's nice that you guys aren't letting us know about the safety of all of us when you have a paywall up. So little did they know that I took the paywall off of that story. So people comment because they just feel like they'll get mad at something, or they'll just be complaining about a headline or something. But the people, there's going to be little complaints no matter what. And I do think people just don't go through and read and just think we're trying to mislead. But we're not, if they read the work we were doing, it's definitely nothing wrong. Definitely nothing wrong in there. It's complimentary and fairness is what we try to shoot for, and that's what we felt like we were doing.
So let's jump to something fun here now, because you are a sports reporter, and another podcast I listen to, one of the producers of the podcast always has the quote, "It's just sports." Like, it's just sports, people. Like, calm down. It's not the end of the world when your team loses and that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to know, you're a huge Chicago Bears fan, obviously, coming from Illinois. What's it like when you see your kicker missed field goal in playoffs?
I mean, I'm as angry as everybody else. I mean, I told my brother on the drive before, hey, this is going to come down to a Cody Parkey field goal, and and that's not something you want to say out loud or think about because he was so inconsistent the whole year. And I mean, even after the first one, you knew the timeout was coming to ice him, and it's like, okay, the odds are against him to make two in a row. And when it went off both uprights, it's just like, of course. So really, really sad is what my reaction was. I don't know if I talked the rest of the night. That was like a 5 o'clock. That was like a 6 o'clock end. But yeah, I was really bummed out. I mean, he'll be gone this next year, and he was the worst. He was the worst player on the team. So if having your kicker be the worst player in the team is not the worst thing in the world, but it can also be the worst thing in the world at certain points. But we'll be all right. And they'll have most of their guys back and get Parkey out of there.
So I bring that up because I've obviously followed Missouri State since before you were in college down there. Of course, I was in college from 97 to 2002. And there's been, even before I knew Missouri State or Southwest Missouri State existed, I mean, fans have talked about the heartbreak that has happened. But you've probably gotten your share of history lessons of what Missouri State sports all across the board have been. And there's been our share of heartbreak. You can talk about 21 RPI, anything Barry Henson. You can talk about, teams not getting, whatever it might be, baseball related. Now they've had success in recent years to make up for some of it, but all the games against Arkansas and regionals or whatever it might be. But there's something that Missouri State sports fans know about heartbreak. And you reporting on the team now, I'm sure people are like, it's got to be, it's different. I'll put it that way. It's different because I remember reading, going back to Scott Purrier, Lindellstrand. I mean, we've seen great reporting for the team down there. But are you anxious to see some success? And I'm talking basketball because baseball's had it, volleyball's had it. Do you see something special ready to happen there if basketball can have some sustained success and give the fans down there something to be excited about? Because I'm saying this as a fan now. Basketball is probably considered king down there. I mean, we have football and things like that, but people really get excited about basketball in Southwest Missouri. I think you know that.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident. This coaching staff has really impressed me. I think we've seen that from the opening press conference, getting to know Dana and the guys. And I think, I wrote it the other day. I think we should start talking about Dana being a possible Coach of the Year candidate for this year. I think the group that he's taken right now is, it's not the most talented group. I think the most talented, he's got some guys coming in that will be eligible next season. That it's just, those are the ones to be excited about. But he's got them competing right now. And the best part is that it's not the way he wants to play. You come in opening night, whether it's they're playing Evangel in the exhibition opener, or playing Oral Roberts in the home opener. They wanted the sprint up and down the court, highlight reel stuff, just quick stuff in transition, but they don't have the bench for that right now. And that's not how Ford wants to play. Ford wants to play fast like that, but he's taken the guys he has now, the thin roster he has, and has found a way to turn them into a team that can win any game, win any night, just by slowing down the game. And it's coaching. It's something that I don't think fans have really noticed in a while. But the frustration they've seen over the past 7 years, and they're just seeing a coach take what's what he has and turn it into a winner. And they weren't supposed to do it this year. It's just it's going to be fun once he gets the guys he wants. I think there's still some holes on the roster, whether it's strength down low. I mean, you saw what Kavion Pippen did the other day, and he's going to fill that with Gage Prim next year. And, I mean, you're going to lose Josh Webster, who's a great leader, but you're going to see a good defender and point guard and Tyreek Dixon next year. So there's a lot to be excited about. I think Ritter's still just a freshman. He's looking better defensively. It's just there's just a ton to be excited about, and I think it's gonna. I'm really confident something at least the next 2 years. I mean, next year they should be one of the favorites, just based off of what Illinois State's going to be losing, and I think Loyola's going to lose a few, and Missouri State's going to add some pieces, and I think Ford's just I think he's been great. It's been a huge surprise from what was expected going into the year. I think it was going to be a rebuilding year, and it's been a ton of fun, whether it's the 70-35 MSU Loyola game was just unreal. That's the most fun I've had ever covering basketball down here. And it's unexpected. It's not what they're supposed to be doing right now, but they're doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say that Loyola game is probably the one. I stay in touch with some of the communications folks at a lot of the Valley schools, and I kept telling the Loyola people, like, yeah, there's no chance. You're going to win the league. And lo and behold, here I'm like, what? This is not, that's not okay. And it's great. It's great. But it's just sort of like one of those things unexpected. So as we sit here recording on February 9th, Missouri State is 6-5, and there's like 3 teams are 6-5 in the Valley. So Loyola's 8-3 as of today. Illinois State 7-4, Drake, Valpo, and Missouri State 6-5, SIU and UNI 5-6, and then Indiana State, Bradley, and Evansville all 4-7. So the Valley's been really, really wacky, or as I like to say on Twitter, nuts.
It's nuts
this year. And going into it, I think most folks thought the Illinois schools were, I think that's how it even panned out in the preseason poll. The 4 Illinois schools were the favorites. Loyola's still at the top. Illinois State right there with them. Drake is definitely a surprise because they have a new coach. Missouri State's position where they are right now, I think, is definitely considered a surprise because, these Drake and Missouri State both predicted to be Thursday night teams of the tournament. Right now, they're positioned to stay out of Thursday night. Southern and Bradley definitely are surprising as considered how they have not performed to expectations. But I think last year, Loyola's Final Four run, no one definitely saw that coming because no one, with Wichita State being gone, it was like, who's next? Who's going to, step into that role? And it was someone's time to shine. Loyola took advantage of it. Now, I say all this to preface because when you talk about Dana Ford taking over at Missouri State, it reminds me of when Conzo Martin took over, and it took him 3 years to get the Bears to be regular season champs in 2011. And I can see some parallels there because it's a different Valley than what it was in 2010, 11, 12, and 13, or 2000, 8, 9, and 10, because Wichita State and Creighton are not there anymore. So it's different, but at the same time, there's opportunity. There's opportunity for someone to become the next Wichita State or Creighton, and not even that. How about not becoming the next Wichita State or Creighton? How about becoming a better Missouri State, a better Southern Illinois, a better whatever it is, just someone else, their time to shine. So with Missouri State in mind, could be their opportunity to become that team that is, the powerhouse. You've got the facilities, you've got now the coach. Could the recruiting now start to come? You talked about you've talked to Dana several times. I've seen your interactions with him. He's the youth, the energy, I think, is a difference maker. Yeah. From what you've seen, and when you talk to the players in post game or in their media sessions, I gotta imagine he's got to be one of those. We talk about a quote unquote players coach. He's got to be one of those ones that the players can sort of relate to. Because he played in the league, the youth is there, and he's got that energy because you can definitely see that on the sideline. This guy is.
Oh yeah.
He's so energetic, and he does not hide his emotions on the sideline, which I love. He gets into it. So I got to imagine that all those things considered have to bode well for the future of Missouri State basketball.
Yeah, depending on how long he's here, right?
There he goes again.
But it's
well played.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. I mean, he's definitely a player's coach. You see the buy-in too. I think that's really been a fun one to see.
And you're not talking just the buy-in from the student athletes, like the community is bought in too.
Oh, everybody! It's fun from I mean, you see the players walking in with signs that say, the signs that say "defend no matter what," and just going crazy for that.
They're walking in with swag. They're not surfing, but they're walking in with swag.
It's cool. I mean, you see the energy players are playing with. I mean, it's fun listening to my photographers. Even my photographers here, they're always like, "Oh, these games are so much fun to cover because these guys are getting pumped up and excited, and it's good photos." And it's something I didn't hear them say really much last year, but it's you're seeing the pride from the team. I mean, it's cool to see Jared Dixon and Ryan Krecklow buy in, especially since they're the holdover guys. But then you see the Josh Websters and the Keonja Cooks, and they're pumped up. And then you see the students are starting to show up and stand and yell. And it's and I was looking at the attendance numbers the other day. They already have multiple. They already have about 6, I believe, 6 or 4 is what I said the other day. If crowds over 5,000. Which is what you really want right now. They only had 1 all of last year. So you're seeing the community start to show up. I mean, we're recording this before the Illinois State game, which is tomorrow, and they're doing a $5 ticket deal, and they're against Illinois State, the game that they can move into second place, a tie for second place with the win.
That's crazy to think about.
And it's unbelievable. So just I think anybody having a chance in the conference this year is good for them. Just being able to go out there and get excited and play the way they've been playing, and being like, okay, there's no Wichita State out there that's going to come crush us in the end. There's not one team that's going to reign over us. Just knowing that you have a shot, and then just the excitement around it too. The fans are loving it right now. People are reading the stories. I mean, they're beating Barry, so there's just so much excitement that kind of adds up to it. And I think it's just one step at a time. And I mean, I think they avoid a Thursday game, and just there's a lot to be excited about. They have 2 big games at home the rest of the year as of today. I mean, this one and the Drake game have to be the biggest games of the year, the rest of the year. And people are just excited. It's been awesome so far, and see how long it lasts. If it turns into something Wichita State-like, maybe Ford gets to hang around a while. And if Ford has enough success and wants to move on, I think people should be pumped up that they had the success and take in one of these assistant coaches maybe as head coach. So who knows what's coming in the future, but I think people are pretty excited to be present right now.
My personal hot take on that, and I spend a lot of time in this podcast asking questions of people, and actually I should have prefaced by saying I always forget to tell the guest, you're free to ask me questions too, but you talked about Ford sticking around like Greg Marshall and Missouri State becoming what Wichita State has. I love that you said that, because I think that's the blueprint, and that happens because of the support from people like fans and donors and boosters being involved. I mean, and being involved by supporting, being involved financially to make that happen. I mean, that's how it works these days in college athletics. If you want to see the program that you support have success, and you like a coach, guess what? That's how it happens. So I say that now because as an alum, as an alumni board member, I realize the importance of how these things work if you want to see the university have success, and not just athletics, but all across the board. Things like that matter. So that's my hot take of, hey, if you want things to go well,
Yeah.
Do things to support the student athletes, do things to support the coach and the program, and you know what? Then they can draw on that and have success. So, switching gears. It's like getting ready to be baseball season, and I know you like me because I know you like me. I'm really good with words. That sounds odd. That's not what I meant to say. You, similar to my thoughts, Missouri State baseball, with their recent success, really popular to cover, because of the personality that the team has taken on in recent years, with some of the players that have come and laid this foundation now. But it seems like since 2000, I don't know, what would you say, 12 or 13, I guess. And it really got going in 14, 15, with, players like Jake Berger and, just sort of setting a tone. This team has a personality that they don't quit. They are scrappy, and then they can hit. They have these pictures, and you don't count them out. And it's fun to watch baseball. It really is. A new season's coming up now. And as Missouri State typically does, players have graduated or gone on to the draft and been picked up and selected and moved on now. And I think last year, most folks would admit they didn't expect the year that they had, losing what they did. So you had some new people step up, some new players step up out of nowhere and become the next set of stars. I've only read what I've read in the preseason reports and stuff I've heard online. I'm not as locked in as I used to be, so I'm curious to know. I saw they were picked in the preseason poll first, which means I don't know much else about the league, but the coaches obviously have some respect for Missouri State. It looks like Drew Millis could be the next rising star, the catcher for the Bears. What do you know about 2019 Missouri State baseball?
Yeah, I'll actually have my preview coming out in the coming week. I mean, the season's starting Friday.
Kind of crazy, but I'm fine with that. It means the weather's going to start warming up too.
Oh yeah, but it's going to. I mean, it's such a special program. I mean, it's something, especially for Keith, gotten to stick around for all these years and just build it into what he has. It's such a special thing. And
I took his class, by the way.
What?
I had him as a teacher.
Oh, that's right. I think you've told me this before.
I got an A in his class.
All right.
I'm telling you that because whenever I see him, and I saw him at the Hall of Fame. I'm interrupting you, but I saw him at the Hall of Fame. I was like, "Hey, how are you? How's it going? Good to see you." And he introduced me to someone that I had not met, and he goes, "I had this guy in class. He used to work for the Valley. He got an A in my class, though, didn't you?" And that's what he tells everyone. That's the first thing. So I had to throw that in there, that I had Keith Gutton's baseball theory class, and I got an A.
Is he a fun teacher?
You know what? Yes. And believe it or not, I actually did learn things in that class that I did not know about baseball, like the strategy of the rundown and defensively how it should work and how players should be in position. We actually had a session of that where we actually got on. I went outside and we participated in the rundown. So yes, it was a legit class, but he's a unique teacher. I don't think he's teaching the class anymore, obviously, but it was a good experience because at the time I'm like, I knew that he was on the guide as the instructor for the class, but I had no idea what was going into it. And I'll be honest too, again, I was taking the class because it was numbered 300 or above. You have to have upper level credit. Yeah. So I'm like, baseball theory is an elective. Yeah. Why not? I was in my last semester and I was trying to fill out a full-time schedule. So it's I'll take this. And I did get the A. And it turns out it did help in the long run because I ended up working in sports for a little bit. And there you go. I knew all about
those rundowns.
Baseball. Exactly. Let's go. So there you go. But anyway, about the Bears. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're going to be really good again. I mean, it's the class they have coming in, I think I've heard, is Paul Evans' best pitching class he's ever brought to Missouri State, and he lost. I mean, still, he considers it that. And he lost a 23rd round pitcher to the draft from high school, and he lost a top 5 round pitcher to the draft from junior college. So he still considers it that good of a class coming in. I mean, but there's the injury to Ty Buckner the other day. He blew out his Achilles, which which is a huge blow to them. He was going to be their number one guy. He's going to be their Friday starter. He was touching 95 from what I've heard, and so they're a little nervous about their pitching right now. There's just not a lot. There's not a lot of experience, but and go with Logan Wiley in the number one, and that might be a freshman as the number 2 to number 3 in the midweek. So there's a little nerve. It's a little nerve-wracking with the pitching right now, just because of the inexperience. But those freshmen they're replacing them with, there's either some of the top arms from Illinois, top arms in Kansas, top arms in Oklahoma, top arms in Missouri. So they've got guys coming in that are going to be good for the long haul for the next 3 years, but they're about to get their experience right away. And I don't know if they wanted to do that. Well, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to have their number one guy, of course, and they lost Dylan Coleman. But they're still gonna be kind of deep pitching. They got some good relievers, Connor Settler. They got some good Matt Russell. He could end up being a starter coming out of the pen. They're going to have some extra arms from the freshman class that are going to end up being. They're going to end up being in that rotation and still coming out of the bullpen. So they're still going to have a good staff. It's just a matter of how long it takes for them to adjust to the college level. And then there's replacing the players in the field too. So I mean, that's Jeremy Ironman, a second-round pick who might be the most talented guy to come out of Missouri State possibly ever, because of the tools he had. Just super athletic, could do it all. Power out of the shortstop, it was unreal. But you see a guy like Joey Pollack is gonna. He's a JUCO National Player of the Year. He's going to play. He's going to start at third base. He had 30-something home runs at the JUCO level last year, and if he's even half of that, MSU's going to love him. Mason Hull, he's going to be the shortstop replacing Ironman. He's not Ironman, but he's still a really good prospect coming from Illinois, and he's a freshman already. He's D1 baseball's freshman of the year in the Valley, so you got to feel good about that. You have the right side of the infield returning with Privatera and Whetstone. The outfield, you lose Steinmetz, but you got Duffy coming off an ACL injury too. Duffy's good to go from what I've heard. He'll either play center if he can handle it, or play right. You got Colin Clayton, who's been a super athletic kid that can hit, and then there's Drew Millis. He's projected top 5 rounds. And he's just the next guy up. That's going to be the next Missouri State guy to be drafted. It's pretty just the factory that Gutton's created. So there's still so much to be excited about with this team, and they should be playing in a regional. I mean, that's the expectation. The guys. I mean, when you talk to the guys, they're not talking about regionals or NCAA tournament appearances anymore. They're talking College World Series, and it's just unreal at this level. And it's something I think that is deserved, and it's what they should be thinking about. And Gutton's going to take it one game at a time, sure. But they're going to be good. It's just how this team is, how this program is, and I'm excited to get going with that.
I'm excited to watch him too, because one of those freshman arms you mentioned is a kid from Wentzville, Missouri, in the school district where I work now, and I got to see him play a lot. Nick Schmidt, who was one of Holt Baseball's just top players all around. Kid could hit, kid could pitch. So I'm excited to hopefully he's one of those freshmen that could take advantage of the opportunity to be out there and show what he's got. So it's fun. It's fun when the kids like that from a different world end up going to Missouri State, and you can follow their career, and hopefully they can continue to have some success. So hopefully it should be fun. So we talked on baseball, we hit on basketball. Before we started recording, we mentioned that I had talked to one of the all-time greats who wrapped up her career last year at Missouri State, and Lily Johnson as a volleyball player. and you saw her up close and personal and talked to her a lot and interviewed her a lot. You even called her overrated.
Yeah.
But that brings me to just talking about, we hit on just some of the good things happening at Missouri State. Volleyball has always been one of those. Of course, they had a little bit of a down year this past year. But that's one of those programs I just want to get your feedback on after seeing them. Just the success of recruiting, and they do actually have what could be the next. I don't want to say the next Lily Johnson, because you don't want to say that. But they've got another solid player down there that she's already broken one of Lily Johnson's records, and she actually, small world, is also a Wentzville kid from Timberland High School as well. But the volleyball program, they're set up, and as long as Melissa Stokes is there, she's always going to want to compete. And Valley Volleyball is always one of those ones with multiple teams, the NCAA tournament. That's always the goal. But I think that's volleyball. Missouri State's one of those programs that doesn't get enough recognition for the success that they have.
Yeah, I mean, those are some of the more fun games to go to too. It's they're just loud. There's good fan base there that gets excited when you go. And Stokes she has them competing every year, so I was able to catch up with her just a couple of weeks ago, and it's another special thing they have going on over there. I mean, the Missouri States. I mean, You see, they win the All Valleys All Sports Cup this past year, and you see they have some special programs, whether it's swimming, volleyball, baseball,
Lady Bears history.
Yeah, I think people would trade it. If people would trade some of it in for basketball or football to win a few more games, but it's there's some. It's just a special thing over there. I think people really enjoy it. I say Lily's overrated. I was able to have a good relationship with her, to be able to joke around and give her a hard time, especially when you were making all the graphics for every single award ever made.
Almost every week.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's fun. There's so much history here, and it's just a lot of fun. Whether it's getting to know Lily, who might be on the Mount Rushmore of Missouri State athletes.
Yeah, that's no question. She's going to be Missouri State Hall of Fame the first opportunity that she was voted in. I mean, yeah.
Jackie, getting to know Jackie, just getting to know how special of a person she was. I never was able to see her play basketball, which is pretty unreal. I know you were able to get to see those.
Yeah, that's a special time right there.
Yeah, but I wasn't able to see that, and I was able to get to know her a little bit more through her ocular melanoma, just talking to her about her eye cancer and everything. But you just see she's a special person, just the love she has for everything, the drive she had for everything, and it's really cool about Missouri State too. They recruit good people in, and the good people end up being the stars too. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Whether it's Jackie, whether it's Lily, Jake Berger was always fun to hang out with and talk to. Alizé is one of my favorite players I've ever covered. It's just it's really good people and a lot of fun too.
I have to tell you two stories that are and I don't know if Jackie or Coach Cheryl Burnett will remember these. And I wish I would have, when I saw her at the Hall of Fame, I wish I would have reminded her of this. But I'll tell you the first one, the Jackie story. I'm not sure many people know this. So my roommate in college, we would play a lot of pickup basketball. And at the time, there was no student rec center. You'd go to Hammond Student Center, you play on. So there were 4 side courts where the bleachers are, those courts there, and then now, which the Turner family court, which is the practice facility, and there's one on the other end. Well, that one that is now known as the Turner family practice court, a buddy of mine in there, we're just shooting around, and Jackie and her boyfriend at the time were at the other end. And that's how it was. She would always just be in there shooting around. But if you're a student, you show your ID, you get into Hammond Student Center, you can go play racquetball, weight room, whatever it was. And we would just go to the side courts and play indoors. The two of us were there, and Jackie was at the other end with her boyfriend just shooting threes. This is what she did. He comes down and says, "Hey, do you guys want to play 2-on-2?"
Oh, gosh.
And we're like, Sure, because we're like, with who else? And then we see her down there, but sure, I guess. And then we realize, oh, that's Jackie Stiles. It's like, okay, I guess we're playing 2-on-2 with Jackie Stiles and her boyfriend. Okay, so my buddy guards Jackie Stiles. I won't tell you all the details, but I'll tell you we played probably about 8 games of 2-on-2. We won the first game 10-9. We played to 10. We won the first game 10-9. We lost the other 7 games 10-0, 10-1, 10-2, 10-0, 10-1, 10-2. So it was, I mean, those scores aren't exact, but you get the point. That's what it was. So I don't think Jackie will remember that because she's been a gym rat her entire life, so she's played a lot of basketball. I'm sure she played a lot of
that on the nightly to whoever walks in there.
yeah. So that was a fun experience there. And then the other one with Coach Burnett. So this might have been the Final Four year, I think, but I know the Lady Bears still do like a community luncheon or something like that.
They do breakfast. Okay,
yes. So back in 2000, 2001, they had what was called the Lady Bear Breakfast. And it was for fans, boosters of the program, but it was for the public. And it was usually at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So me and my roommate, we were fans of the program because we got into it. We're like, wow, this team's awesome. Like back then, attendance for the Lady Bears was different. It was way higher than what it was for the Bears. We would go to these as college kids. We're like, we want to find out what's going on with the team. And we were interested. We went to the one that was during finals week. And Coach Burnett comes up to us and says, now, this doesn't look like something you two guys should be at. You sort of stick out like sore thumbs here. And we're like, well, we're fans, we're students, we go to all the games, so we just thought, hey, why not go? And she goes, well, I appreciate you being here. Don't you have class or something? It's like, yeah, we do. It's like in 30 minutes, but we're going to get there in time. It's not far off and whatnot. And she was just sort of dumbfounded that 2 students were at this event because at the time, that's not something that students were doing. So it wasn't like we had Maroon Madness back in those days. It was, students just weren't going to Lady Bears games, but they didn't have that worry because the crowds were already so huge. But I just remember the look on her face like, well, thank you guys for being here, I guess. But this is odd, but sure. It's like, nope, you guys are awesome. We love it. So that's my Coach Cheryl Burnett story. So those are just great memories. And I even told the story about how I had to sneak in to Hammond Student Center to the alumni newspaper to see the game where Jackie broke the scoring record. So, I won't bore people with that. I've told that before. If someone else asks me, I'll tell it later, but I'm not going to worry about it now. I didn't think we get into that much Missouri State stuff, but that's good. That's good. I appreciate it because, like I said, you've got that connection down there now, and you're seeing this new era of Missouri State up close and personal. So hopefully some more memories can be made going forward. And Coach Dana Ford and Coach Kelly Harper are there for a long time, and no one's going to poach them from Missouri State, contrary to anything that you write about. Yeah. All right. Well,
they deserve it. Complimentary.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, what I always like to do before I wrap up with guests are ask 5 quick questions. No pausing. Give me the first answer that comes to mind. So, Wyatt, I've got 5 questions for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Here we go. My first question for you. Everything you've covered, I don't know how much you covered in high school, but college, here at the News-Leader, most memorable quote that you've gotten from an interview?
I'm doing bad on the pause thing already.
That's okay. It's a podcast. I can edit.
I like to ask kids after high school football games just to tell me a little bit about them so they can tell me so I can see if there's a story I can dig into there. And I ask kids so what do you like to do in your free time? And the kid just says, I like to be nice. And I'm just like,
how about that?
Really? It was pretty
You're
funny.
like, I should try being nice too.
I should try that someday. Nah, you can do me.
You do you. All right. Question 2. All levels taken into consideration, high school, college, that you've covered, that you as a reporter have covered. What's the most memorable game you've seen?
I know, without a doubt, it's got to be the Arkansas-Missouri State rain game that lasted hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
Coach of the Arkansas had the tarp taken off, and it was. I filed that story at 3 a.m. I hit the pillow at 4 a.m. I don't think that was unbelievable. That whole night was just playing baseball, the rain, the drama. Missouri State lost, but a few hours later beat Arkansas to move on to the super regional. But that the whole thing was unreal.
Yeah, I'll admit, I went to bed. I went to bed. I'll just put it that way.
It was a tough one.
I went to bed.
It was cool. I'll remember that forever.
All right. Question 3. You can go back as far as high school. Anything in your life that you would do differently?
Not sure. I think I'd probably look at other colleges before going to Northern Illinois. I think I'd like to do that. I can't think of too many regrets. I think I'm pretty content with looking at other colleges, so I didn't have to be stuck in Northern Illinois. Maybe starting out with Missouri State, but who knows what would be different if I did that. So.
There you go. It's all a plan. It's all a plan. I never knew if Wyatt Wheeler was an athlete, but if you could play one sport, what would you play?
If I were to play a sport and be good at it,
bowling,
probably be football. I played football growing up my entire life.
Did you play in high school too?
Played through high school.
Okay.
I wasn't. People were bigger than me in high school.
Were you kicker, punter?
Didn't see too much time.
Kicker, punter.
No, it was a defensive end,
okay.
Tight end, a spread offense that didn't use tight end, but it was it's probably football. I mean, there's a different level of camaraderie with guys. Baseball is just another level of excitement with football, and that's my favorite. That's my number one sport too. So definitely football.
All right. Question 5. What's one thing that Wyatt Wheeler cannot live without?
Unfortunately, it's got to be the phone, right? It's just.
Are you connected to your device too much?
Just the level of anxiety I have without it or something is just not healthy, but it's probably there, right?
But it's probably from work. It's probably from, I want to know what's going on. I want to know about this.
Oh, I've had... I'll sit down. I've sat down in multiple places and just reported. I mean, I have my laptop on me at all time too. I'm always walking around with a backpack, just looking like a little kid or something. Just like, oh, Wyatt can't be without his backpack. But just not wanting to miss anything, or just being able to get a story out there as quick as possible is just something that drives me insane, but I guess it also helps me be decent at my job, I guess.
I can respect that. There's nothing wrong with that. So, well, that's curious to know. I would have never guessed that you would be that much dependent on advice. I mean, I've left my phone at home before going to work, and I'm like, I'll get it at lunch, or it's okay. And I don't think I need it, but then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to the gym. I don't have my phone, or you have something like that. So, but well, I appreciate the time here, sir. This has been fun, and hopefully, I'd love to have you be a return guest so we can catch up once the basketball season over. Maybe do a in review or something of Bears basketball and see where the baseball team is at that point.
You're able to get a hold of me as quick as anybody, and I get a hold of you for my gifts. So
that is true.
I can get a hold of you you can get a hold of me for anytime you need a podcast. So anytime.